That's all I had in mind. I'm going to jail in day one.
Yeah.
And we arrived there, and I swear in my mind, I'm just telling God, like, please, just take me back home. So I was just in shock.
Yeah.
I just came from having my own room, having my own space, to now sharing the room with eight people. So it was incredibly difficult. I can tell you there were days that I didn't know what I was going to eat. My next meal, I didn't know what it was going to be. And that was it for me. I was like, I quit. I don't have a job. I don't have a place to stay. Coming from the top and then hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
And then trying to build that again.
Yeah.
It's extremely difficult, especially when you don't have a formula.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Invincible Minds podcast, a podcast where I sit down with extraordinary individuals who have turned their trials into triumphs, showing that with the right mindset, absolutely anything is possible. I'm your host, Collins Yatanga. Today, I am honored to have an incredible guest. He is the Loyalty Operations Manager for Abu Dhabi's largest hospitality company. He is a true leader with an inspiring story. He has overcome so many challenges, proving that resilience, discipline, and a heart of service will get you to the furthest and greatest places in life. I'm so honored to have him here as we explore his path and see some of the lessons he's learned to inspire you all. Welcome to the podcast, my friend, my brother, Zidane.
Thank you so much, brother. That is such an amazing intro, you know. It's
nice,
a lot
man.
for one person. Such an honor, brother, to be here.
Yeah.
I've been dreaming of this day, and it's finally here. I love it.
Yeah.
I feel like the message that we're about to share, a lot of people are going to resonate and learn from this. So, thank you so much.
Amazing. It's truly, truly a pleasure to have you here. And I know we've been saying that we're going to film this. You know, we've been talking for a while, but it's finally good to sit down to talk and exchange. And like you said, we're here to share a message that should hopefully inspire someone. So before we get started, I just wanted to ask you a question. For someone who's just tuned in right now, what is the one message you want them to get from this conversation?
I would like everyone listening, everyone that just tuned in right now, I would like them to reflect on the different ways that they can actually give and serve more, you know, in whatever, place they found themselves, in whatever position, whatever role they found themselves. I want everyone to reflect on how they can give and serve more. That's powerful, man. Honestly, I think that's definitely something that will resonate with our audience. So, man, let's get started and let's just jump right into it. So I wanted to start the pod today just by exploring dreams and on the topic of giving and serving. I believe that everyone in life has a dream. And it's either a dream that keeps you up at night or a dream that wakes you up in the morning with fuel and fire. I'm just going to read a quote by one of my favorite speakers, Les Brown. And he says this: "The graveyard is the richest place on earth because it is here that you will find all the hopes, dreams that were never fulfilled, the books that were never written, the songs that were never sung, the inventions that were never shared, the cures that were never discovered. All because someone was too afraid to take that first step and they never carried out their dream." That is powerful.
It's very, very deep. And it leads me to ask you, what was your dream as a child? Like, what was your dream growing up?
For me in particular, my dream was to become a pilot.
Nice.
You know, I mean, whenever I go outside and I see the planes flying, I've always wanted to become a pilot. You know, and then, a few years down the line, I started seeing, okay, it might get a little bit difficult to become a pilot, Then I'm like, let's become cabin crew, you know? So there was that transition where I was like, man, I was crazy about becoming a cabin crew, I wanted to become a cabin crew. Because the idea about that for me was like, I felt like they were just traveling, living from one country to another and just having fun. That's just all I thought about, So I wanted to become cabin crew. But that didn't happen, and we're not complaining, but
So you're someone who has, of course, met some incredible people in your line of work. You've, been around athletes, CEOs, and even members of royalty. And each and every one of those, they had a dream. So what are some of the things that you've noticed in these individuals that have made their dreams a reality?
I mean, man, first of all, it's been a big privilege, something that I really never foresee this coming, I mean, like some of the people I've, spent time with, I didn't know I was gonna, I thought I was only going to watch them on TV.
Yeah.
But now I get to see them and spend some time with them and serve them, giving in my own way. One thing that you've noticed, whenever I spend time with them, one thing that I've noticed with these people is, first and foremost, they dream big, extremely big. They do not play the small games, right? They are people that they carry the mindset of like everything is possible.
Yeah.
They look at the world as it is, and they know they always look for opportunities. They don't look at problems to be stumbling blocks for them.
Yeah.
They look at problems to be just a roadmap to finding a solution to something that can actually solve that. And like they say, you got to fail to actually succeed, right? And it makes a lot of sense, right? Because when you fail, you actually understand the formula to becoming successful at whatever it is that you're doing. These guys are people, like I said, they dream big. They are extremely time conscious and disciplined. I can tell you, I've spent time with some of the best athletes, in the world, and when you try to find out about, their routine, you will be amazed. You feel like you're wasting life, I promise you, I had the opportunity of spending time with one of my favorite MMA fighter.
Yeah.
And this guy, 4 a.m., he wakes up at 3.
Yeah.
Right, so he's got to wake up at 3 because he's like, you know what, I got to count my calories from this time to this time.
Wow.
And then he starts telling me things like, you don't need 8 hours of sleep, which is like contradictory to what we all know, right? You need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Yeah. But then he goes deeper. He's like, you know what, I'm always learning, and yes, certain people need that amount of sleep, and my body is conditioned to sleep for X amount of hours only, and that's because of the things I eat. He's very disciplined with what he eats, what oil he uses to cook. You see the little details, Yeah. So these guys are extremely disciplined, type conscious. Like, if this guy is late for an appointment, then the next appointment has to suffer. Because the next appointment has to cover for that. So you would find this thing common with almost all of them that you talk to. And the fact that they love to give is very important. Because I always thought that they just want to receive or they just take from others, But I got to understand that they love to give. And the beauty about it is that most of them don't actually, go public about the different ways that they give.
Of course,
you understand? And giving here, I want us to understand that it's not just about, the material things, the cash and the goods and stuff like that. But think about the time, the efforts, mentoring, stuff like that, right? So giving, indeed, I really learned that is a big aspect of like being successful. It's going to take you places for sure.
It's always interesting when you hear the mindset of the hyper successful, the mindset of the high performing individuals, because I think we all aspire to reach a certain stage in life, but the best way that you can try implement some of those things is to reverse engineer. You want to look at what are the habits of these individuals. What do they do in the morning? What do they do in the afternoon? What do they do in the evening? How do they manage their time, like you said? And see where you can take those principles and apply them into your life.
True.
And just in your field of work, I think there is so much that you've learned, so much that you've seen that the average person wouldn't be, accessible to. What's been like the craziest thing that you've seen, either from like a big CEO or like an athlete or a movie star? Like, what's been like a crazy discipline, technique, or just something that they did that blew your mind and you said, I want to apply that to my life?
There've been a lot. They don't cease to amaze you or wow you, But this very, very famous, guy, I cannot call his name, but he's well known. He owns a TV show as well. This guy, he has someone walking beside him with a watch. Right? And he wears a watch as well. He doesn't look at the watch. That person's job, and he gets paid. His job is to be like, hey, I'm sorry, sir. It's time. We have to move.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's like directing the boss. He paid someone to literally
manage his time.
Then he just goes as far as to tell you, like, man, time is everything. You got to have control over time. And I saw it, right? Because we're moving from one place to another. Sometimes, we're actually busy talking. And this guy, sorry to interrupt you guys. So it's time. We got to move to the next place. I'm like, huh, really? You know, I'm like,
Damn,
really?
hey,
You
that's a
pay,
job.
you
That's a
pay.
job I could do, man. What do you
I,
mean?
no, I don't mind, bro. It's like, and I'm sure this guy is getting a lot of money
He's
for
getting
that, you
like
know?
six figures just
Because,
to tell someone the time and
bro,
just manage his
can
affairs.
you
Yeah,
imagine?
yeah.
I didn't see the main guy check his watch even once.
Yeah.
But he's wearing something extremely expensive.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
Yeah.
And this guy just kept doing his job. And he doesn't get, the main guy doesn't get annoyed. He even apologized. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That's his job.
Yeah.
You know? And then you're like, oh, no, don't worry, don't worry. But that alone, I was like,
Blew your mind.
Blew my mind,
So
bro.
then, like, what did you do in terms of time management? How did that change your perspective on time management? What did you do in like your day-to-day life to implement some of that?
I mean, honestly, being a leader, first of all, you know, one of the very most basic principles of being a leader is leading by example.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is, everyone knows this. So if I have to attend a meeting, I want to be there first.
Yeah.
You know, if I have to go somewhere, I want to be there first.
Yeah.
It is so important. It just makes people really respect you.
Exactly.
You know, the amount of respect that comes with just being early,
Yeah.
showing up early on time,
Exactly.
it's just, it's unbelievable. But yeah. That has actually changed the way I view time and how I manage my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
And it's incredible, these insights that you get. And I think for me, time management is one of the most crucial attributes to master.
Yeah.
I think on your journey of self-development, time management is something that you really have a lot of control over.
Yeah.
And preparation, whether before you leave the house, whether you're heading to a meeting, whether you have an appointment with someone, you know, it shows that level of respect to the other person. And
True.
being early opens doors that you don't even realize. You
That's
know,
very true.
let's say
Yes.
you're going to a meeting, you're there 30 minutes before. Who knows who you're going to bump into? Who knows who you're going to see? And if you're already there, present, focused, and ready, it just gives you that best first impression possible. And first impressions last.
Yes.
So the moment people see that you have a habit of, you know, being late or a habit of missing appointments, and it just shows a disorganization in how you manage your life.
Yeah.
And you really don't want that, right? So the first thing that I think we can definitely point as a nugget here is manage your time like your life depends on it, right?
Yeah.
So that's really, really important.
Manage.
So you have a unique perspective in where you have experienced different environments.
Yeah.
You know, you've experienced environments of the hyper successful, hyper luxury, 1% of the 1%, royalty. You've also experienced environments of poverty, environments of struggle, environments of pain.
Yeah.
And then there was that intersection where, you know, you were transitioning from one to the other. And I personally believe that your environment has a big, big impact on the dreams that you have and the ambition that you have. Yeah. How has the environment shaped your ability to dream?
That is such a good question. 100%. The change and the shift from Cameroon to, you know, the UAE and Dubai and Abu Dhabi especially has been like one of the best decisions that I ever made.
Yeah.
But believe me, getting to the point of making this decision wasn't easy for me.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of things that were holding me back. But then I was kind of resilient and I was like, you know what, this has to happen. It gets a point in your life where you actually know and you have that burden in your heart that you have to do something and you have to take action on this thing. And, you know, you just know it. And regardless of any voice that you hear after that, you want to pursue that one thing. And that was it for me, moving to the UAE. Now, when I was in Cameroon, my dreams and aspirations were very, very, very small.
Yeah.
You know, you just dream of making money.
Yeah.
You know, becoming successful. You know, that is the definition of being successful
Back
most
home.
people back home.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
But when I arrived here in the UAE, that my mindset and my perspective about being successful completely changed.
Yeah.
And I want to even start with my health, health-wise first. Now, back home, you just got to eat well, eat 3 times a day, and nobody cares about the details of, like, what are you eating and
the
stuff,
calorie
you know?
counts
The
and
calorie count,
everything.
stuff
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
you know? I mean, but when I got here, I understand that there's a huge community that is so concerned about your health.
Yeah, well,
and then, okay, my mind is like, okay, connect there as well, you know, go to the gym, hit the gym, you know, eat right, you know, stuff like that. So to me, that was a big part. Like they say, take care of your health and you take care of your wealth, right?
Yeah.
And, when I go to the UAE, my dreams turned to, I met so many wealthy people.
Yeah.
And, the amount of wealth that I've never experienced, I wasn't used to it.
Yeah.
And I used to just dream about becoming rich and being comfortable.
Yeah.
And now I dream of being like, I could drive that car too, Like he drives a Rolls Royce. Like here in the UAE has just completely changed my perspective on life in general.
Yeah.
And, how much I can dream. It just shows me that there's no limit to how far you can dream.
Yeah.
In my mind right now, one of my dreams right now is to become one of the greatest leaders that I can become, in my time, in my generation, and to serve and give to others as much as I can, you know. And this is all possible, and to the UAE, it's all possible because I made that conscious decision to actually come here.
I experienced it for myself, transitioning from the UK, and when I came to Dubai, I think what I thought was possible in the UK versus what I now think is possible, having experienced the Middle East, completely different, man. And I think your environment plays such a big role. So I would encourage people to experience life, go to things that stretch their mind. My dad told me something when I was younger, that once the mind has been stretched, it can't go back.
Yeah.
This is why people are always like, try business class just once, because the moment you go in business class, you never want to go back to economy because your mind has been stretched. I encourage people, go to car dealerships, sit in a Rolls Royce, sit in a Ferrari. It doesn't matter if you don't have the money to buy it now, but just sit in it. Make your mind feel like this is possible, and it will shape your ability to dream because you're putting your body in an experience that it's never had before. And once it's there, it then elevates you. So environment is so important, and people need to be careful about where their mind goes and the environments that they put their minds to really push them forward. So let's talk a little bit more about Cameroon, because I want to build a picture on who Zidane the man is. You've become so successful here in the Middle East. However, your journey does begin back home in Cameroon. So can you paint a little picture of what it was like growing up in Cameroon?
Yeah, growing up in Cameroon is fun. It was fun regardless. Good food. They got good food.
Yeah.
I always tell people, when I tell people I'm from Cameroon, they're like, okay, what's one unique thing about Cameroon? And then I always go back to because if I say it's green, Africa is green, in general. But I do know that something that we take pride in Cameroon is that we've got a lot of tribes, if I'm correct, I think about 258 different tribes.
Wow, that's a lot.
And now it is a pride for your tribe to actually create your own dish, right? So then you can imagine, meaning for 258 days, you could potentially eat something different, which is nice,
That's awesome.
Not all of them are healthy, but but they taste good, But growing up in Cameroon was a bit different for me compared to, others that come from Cameroon. I was blessed to grow up in a time where in the golden area of my family, being the only guy with, 3 sisters, taught me a lot.
Yeah.
My family, we did pretty well in terms of finance and status, and but at some point, things, just went down the hill, which led, of course, to me moving to the UAE.
Yeah.
But a normal day for me in Cameroon back there would usually be, just hanging around, schools, or I'd never worked for someone back in Cameroon. So the UAE gave me that opportunity to actually.
So you had your first job when you came to the UAE?
Yeah, when I came to the UAE.
How old were you when you came?
24.
24, okay.
Yeah.
So up until 24, you hadn't had a first job. No. Of course, your family was good, you were blessed in that situation. So.
Yeah. Okay. 23, actually. Sorry. 23. But so family was really blessed up to that moment. I'd never imagined I would work for someone. Never. Just because of the place where my dad was at that time, and in the little town that I came from, that is called Ndop, back home, that little town, literally almost every single person would recognize us if we walk on the street, But then, at some point, like I told you, things just kept went
Yeah,
down.
things
You
changed.
know,
Yeah.
things changed, and that's when I realized I had to be a man.
Yeah.
You know, pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
I had to become a man. I had to do something. So knowing that my mom loves me so much, and
Yeah.
you know, there's got emotions and everything attached
Yeah.
to it, she's not gonna let me just take drastic decisions like that.
Yeah.
So when I decided to make this move to Abu Dhabi, I didn't tell anyone. I literally told my mom about 2 weeks before I traveled.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'm going to the UAE, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, she cried a lot, but she's
Yeah.
fine now, you know?
Nice, yeah.
She's fine. But yeah, so that was how Cameroon was for me. It was really good. It was pretty good times there. And some times that it pushed me to be
Yeah.
a better person, you know,
No,
when I
that's-
moved here. Yeah.
That's good, man. Thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
because I think it contextualizes at least the mindset that you have.
Yeah.
I just want to dig a little bit deeper in terms of those tough times back home, and just get an understanding. So you said that you and your family had some challenges. You were in a blessed environment and a blessed situation. However, things changed.
Yeah.
What did you learn in that low period about your family and also about yourself? Like, what are some of the things that you learned when you're going through those difficult times?
You know, when the norm is to walk your way up from the bottom to the top.
Yeah.
This is the norm that most people know about. But, you know, coming from the top and then hitting rock bottom
Yeah.
and then trying to build that again,
Yeah.
it's extremely difficult, especially when you don't have a formula.
Okay.
Once you have a formula, it's if Elon Musk was supposed to go rock bottom today, tomorrow he's going to be rich because he's got a formula.
He's got a formula.
But growing up as a young guy there and just enjoying the wealth of the family, you know, and just thinking that this is going to last forever,
Yeah.
not knowing that, you know, that day will come, you know, and it made me, I had to be extremely humble
Yeah.
because I came from a place where you had everything to a point where you had almost nothing. And you realize that you had to go ask help from people that you would normally always help them. And that sense of, the sense of pride, you know, fighting in your mind, that sense of pride of like, man, can I really go start begging now?
Yeah.
Can I go ask for help?
Yeah.
Which is such a normal thing to do. Like people should really master the act of like asking for help. It is so important.
Yeah.
But at that stage, you can imagine that I had everything and people know me to be this person.
Yeah.
And then I came down to a place where we've lost everything. And then now I need to ask for help.
Yeah.
There were days when my mind would be like, man, I'd rather die.
Yeah.
And of course, when it's too much, you're like, man, okay, there's that one or two people you can go to and be like, hey, bro, listen, I'll give you back. I'll pay you back, you know?
For sure.
But it taught me to be humble.
Yeah.
It really killed my pride, you know, because there was no other way out. There was no other way out. And I cannot tell you how that really prepared me for my journey in the UAE.
Yeah.
You know, my journey as a leader right now, serving others, I cannot tell you how extreme. That's why you come to my workplace and you cannot point out, you don't know what I do, right?
Yeah.
People don't know, but the staffs will make you understand that this is our leader, you know, just because you've made the environment so warm, comfortable, you know, anyone can actually walk up to you and say anything, you know. So I think that really changed things for me. And I appreciate the fact that I had to go through that struggle because it taught me a little bit about life. Because when I came here in the UAE as well, it wasn't easy. You know? But so I'm happy for the experience and
Wow, man. What an inspiring thoughts, man. Like humility and losing it all and not having a formula. I had never actually thought about that, you know, because it's so true. When you started at the bottom, you've tested, you've trialed, you've tried to see what works, and you figure out a formula and a plan.
Yeah.
However, when you've had it all and then you're taken down, you don't know what it takes to get up there because you never had to build that in the first place, right? So that's really incredible. It reminds me of a story in the Bible of the prodigal son.
Yeah.
the prodigal son who leaves his father and he asks for all his inheritance, spends all his inheritance, enjoys life, and then realizes that, damn, I'm empty. I've got nothing here. And he goes back to the father, and the father restores him. I think there's just something truly, truly inspiring about that, and the things that you took from it. Humility. I feel like God allowed that to happen so that you could be put in a position of humility, so that you can then serve other people when you then came to the UAE.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that we do go through are for other people, not for ourselves, right? So you're going to say.
No, sorry, I was just going to add, because I love the point about you mentioning that God actually had put me there to actually get something out of the situation.
Yeah.
Because in most cases, whenever you have everything, right, at a very young age, you tend to be really, really proud.
Yeah.
You tend to feel like, you're on top of the moon, you're on top of everyone else, so getting to that point, it actually made me to realize, like, man, you're nobody without God, man.
Yeah.
It actually strengthened my relationship with God.
Yeah.
That was the moment when the shift even happened for me. Because even up to then, we go to church on Sundays, but just looking at the time, like, man, because my grandma is there, it's like, when is it getting over, Yeah. But then you get to the point where you got nothing, and okay, the only thing you got is God. Now you got to trust God.
Exactly.
It taught me a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Nah, definitely, man. Yeah, God is great. Great to see that you're still standing. Now a lot more people can find hope in your story based on what you went through, right? And that's so important.
Yeah.
So, man, so let's move on a little bit now and talk about the transition, leaving Cameroon and coming to UAE. Obviously, you shared that things were difficult at home and you decided to find greener pastures in another land. Why the Middle East? Why not America? Why not China or Europe? Why specifically the UAE? What drew you to it?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned these two countries because I actually tried. So I've got family living in the US, and at that time when I was I was begging them, I was like, man, you got to get me out of Cameroon ASAP. And they tried and all, but the visa got rejected twice.
Yeah.
Because it's just extremely difficult back home to get a visa to the US. Is extremely difficult. So I tried to China. I was ready to go become an English teacher in China, or to go because back then I was playing a lot of basketball.
Yeah.
So I had a friend in China, and he was like, you know what, just come here. You can teach basketball to the kids here, and I tell you to pay you a lot of money. So now. And this is a point where whenever I think about it, I want to cry even because I made my mom fall sick, literally. Like you can make someone fall sick because of the way you react beside them. Energy flows.
Yeah.
Knowing that, we had nothing left, but then my friend comes out and shows me this golden opportunity, it's just shining. That's all I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Going to China and they will pay me more.
Yeah.
And I went to my mom. I'm like, you know what? I need $1,600,000 franc CFA to go to China. And my mom found every possible way to explain to me, like, we don't have the money.
Yeah.
But at that state, even knowing before that, yes, we don't have the money, at that point, I was like, no, I need that money. I don't care where this money is going to come from. I need that money.
You need it, yeah.
And I watch my mom cry sometimes. And, man, it was like, when I think about it, it is the worst thing you can ever do, and selfish, and at the end of the day, I mean, I came to the realization that, we don't really have the money, and I had to try something else, and that's when I started Googling about Dubai.
Yeah.
Back home, Dubai is pretty famous because I think it's the same now. We don't really need a visa. We get a visa on arrival from Cameroon once we get here, or something like that. Yeah. So it was pretty easy to come here, and I think one of the first videos that I watched, I saw the tallest building, Burj Khalifa.
The Burj Khalifa.
And I'm like, who is not gonna want to stay here, man? So and then I checked about how much it's gonna cost me. And I realized, okay, if I had to do some odd works, for like a couple of weeks, I could actually make that money because I just had to take care of my, my plane tickets, So, but then I started working and I would realize like, nah, man, it's not working. You know, it's hard work. There was hard work. It wasn't working. So I reached out to my uncle in the US.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, hey, this is the plan. I need to go to Dubai. And initially I wanted to come study.
Yeah.
And then we checked the prices and whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
It wasn't cheap,
It's
bro.
a different ball game, yeah.
So the guy is like, you know what, I kind of pay for you to go study here, but if you want to go look for a job, okay, maybe we can talk about it. I'm like, yes, without hesitating.
let's do that.
Without hesitating.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes. So, okay, he sent me the money and everything. And yeah, that's how I found myself in Dubai,
Yeah.
you know, and started from there again. Yeah.
That sounds like such a roller coaster journey, you know,
Yeah.
from trying multiple countries, getting rejected, and then something that you said there. Yeah, man. Like when you see your mom cry, there is nothing worse than that. I think, especially since we're the type of men that we are, and we have this responsibility and this call to look after our parents, and we want to make mom's sacrifices worth it. Everything that we do is to put mom in a better position, right? And when it's difficult, when you're trying to figure it out and your mind just sees red and you're like, this is what I need to do. Like you can unintentionally hurt others around you because you're so hard-headed on what you want to do. But God closed that door. But then he blessed you with an uncle who was able to say, hey, you know, Dubai, I can support you and move there. So I'm seeing a pattern in just the right people being placed in your life at the right time, right? And yeah, man, so then what were your first impressions of Dubai? Like now that you arrived, you know, and you're seeing it for the first time. It's not on pictures anymore. It's real life. You know? What were your first impressions and what were you thinking?
Wow. I swear. See, I landed here. I landed here 1 a.m. I still remember 1 a.m. But then the beauty of this country at night, unbelievable what the lights can do.
So beautiful.
It's so beautiful, right from the plane, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
So I landed there, and I had a friend that came to pick me up from the airport. All right, and you know, before I arrived here, you know, I thought I had everything planned out well. You know, I told this guy like, hey, listen, so I got my own space, right, and stuff. You know, I don't know anything about sharing with. I was like, yeah, he goes, don't worry, but just come. Bring some money. So I mean, I got all I had, brought it, and I arrived here 1 a.m. and a crazy thing that happened to me. And if it happened to most people, they'll probably be taking the next flight back home the next day.
Oh, wow.
And that was one of the greatest, you know, incident that ever happened that actually, I almost got traumatized, you know. I arrived here 1 a.m. and we took a taxi. Yeah. And just before we could arrive at the place where we're going to stay, it was back in Abu Dhabi, you know, and Abu Dhabi is more like a very cheap area here in Dubai and more affordable, apparently. And when we arrived there, apparently there was some situation that happened in the bank and some money lost, you know, and so the CIDs were everywhere. Damn. And I'm telling you, the next minute I found myself in a van with this guy and others that I don't know. Wow. And I was on my way to the headquarters, the CID headquarters.
Oh, wow.
Because they asked me a question, where is your Emirates ID? I have no clue. What's an Emirates ID?
Yeah, I've just got here.
I told this guy, I just landed here, like, it's less than an hour. He's like, you're joking. Yeah. He's like, you know, but like, because of the tension, I understand his reaction, you know, because of the tension and, you know, there was no time to talk. We had to go talk somewhere else, you know. I just landed. My mom has been crying for me not to come to this country. Yeah. And I know, and in my mind, I'm just thinking, oh my God, my mom was right. My mom was right. I've done the greatest mistake ever. Yeah. You know? That's me going to the CID headquarters.
Yeah, you're potentially going to prison. Like,
that's all I had in mind. I'm going to jail in day one. Yeah. And we arrived there, and I swear in my mind, I'm just telling God, like, please, just take me back home. Yeah. I just need a deportation or something. Take me back home. I don't want to go to jail, you know. I've done nothing wrong. Yeah. But I don't know. It's my first time here. Yeah. And then I arrived there, and the boss came, the Arbab came, and he was asking everyone again, where's your Emirates ID? And some people tell you, oh, it's expired. The company is fixing it. Some people didn't have it all.
Yeah.
And then I told him, I only have my passport because I just arrived an hour ago. He's like, an hour?
Yeah.
He was in shock, right? Like,
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. He's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. He's like, follow me.
Yeah.
We go into his office. And man, the technology in this place.
Yeah.
Some cameras there, and he tells me, look into that camera. Because my passport, my actual passport was in my bag, and my bag was left there, that place in Abu Dhabi. Like, they left it there, you know?
Yeah.
So he's like, where's your passport? I'm like, it was left there as well. He's like, really? He's like, yeah. And then I looked into that thing, and apparently my details will show.
Yeah.
And he's like, you arrived here just about 1 a.m.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm like, yeah. He's like, he gets upset.
Why did they bring you here?
He gets upset. I don't know what he was saying in Arabic,
Yeah.
but the guy gets upset, and he was screaming and shouting at the other guys there. And he told me, hey, listen, I'm so sorry. You can go home. And then my other guy, I was like, yeah, I'm my brother. And that's how I saved him as well. He's like, okay, yeah, it's your brother. Okay, you guys go home. You know? Yeah. But then you can imagine what was going through my mind, man.
Yeah.
You know? And I just came from, wow, the building's amazing, to like, oh, take me back home, you know? But yeah, I mean, I forgot about it. You know, I knew, because in my mind, I know why I'm here. Yeah. And I had to make it work. I had to, you know, move forward. Yeah. Cool.
Oh my goodness, that's definitely a crazy experience. Day one, you come from the flights, you know, you offload, you pick up your bags, you're seeing the birds, the pretty lights, and then all of a sudden you're in a Dubai cell and you're being interrogated by the police. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, life comes at you very fast, and these things we can't predict. So, of course, day one wasn't too great. Hopefully, it started to get a little bit better. So, give us a bit more context in terms of your first couple of months here. What were you doing for work? And then before you moved to Abu Dhabi, because I know that comes a little bit later, you know, what did you end up doing in Dubai in that time?
It wasn't as easy, honestly. From there, from the headquarters, I found myself in a bed space. Yeah. Because this is what my friend had booked for me, you know. Yeah. He told me, listen, you cannot spend that amount to stay alone. Yeah. You don't have a job. Yeah. And it made sense what he was trying to say, you know. I mean, we didn't consider the aspect of your environment could make a difference.
And then hold on, for the people that don't know, can you just explain what bed space is? What is a bed space?
A bed space is, let's say, a room like this one we're in right now, right? More like partition. So you find a room, and you got like, I think we're like 8 of us living in the same room. And then you got like the bunk beds, you know, like the upper level and lower level. And usually when you come and you're new to the country, you always go at the top, you know. Yeah. So the old guys in the country take the lower side,
the bottom bunks,
So I was there. I got in there, 8 people, and they're still sleeping, right? Because they got work at this time. They got work. I have no idea what's happening there. Yeah. The guy points to my bed. That's your bed. You can climb and sleep. So I put my bed on my box under the lower level there, and so I was just in shock. Yeah, I just came from having my own room, having my own space, to now sharing the room with 8 people. Yeah, and to literally walk, you have to go on the side, like you gotta squeeze in there, you know. Yeah. But then I started looking for a job, and I started doing it a very old school way that people are still doing to today, and they wonder why they're not finding jobs. You know, one thing, you get into a country, you have to try to understand how things work in the country, and that's something I didn't do in the first few months. And it was because of the circle I was around, right? Everyone was used to printing a bunch of papers, your CV, walking around and dropping them. Yeah. Of course, someone is just going to, thank you. The next thing you're out.
Throwing in the bin.
Throwing the bin, you know? So I didn't know anything about LinkedIn and stuff like that. Yeah. So I was doing it the old school way, you know? I didn't even bring my laptop or anything. Yeah. And so this guy told me, you get my laptop, keep searching for a job, keep searching for a job. So I was searching for multiple jobs. I went fast forward. I went for 2 visa change. Yeah. So I couldn't get a job. I didn't get a job in like 6 months.
So visa changes, what's the time difference between?
It's like 3 months. So you got a visa.
3 months on a visitor's visa?
On a visitor's visa.
Okay, yes.
And then you've got to renew that. So, you know, you travel to Soha or Doha. Yeah.
So you have to leave Dubai to renew the visa to come back into Dubai. Yes. Okay, so like this is the process that people don't understand.
That is the process. You actually fly, you go there. I think the first one we went to, I think Soha.
Yeah.
It's about 20 minutes from here, flying. So we went there. The plane lands. You don't leave the plane.
Yeah.
Okay. The plane lands, wait for like 5 minutes, takes off again.
Yeah.
And lands back.
Yeah.
And then you renew your visa again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I used to do. And, that's 6 months, no job.
Mm-hmm.
So it was incredibly difficult. I can tell you there were days that I didn't know what I was going to eat.
Mm-hmm.
My next meal, I didn't know what it was going to be.
Yeah.
There was this guy, actually, Grand J. I used to call him Grand J.
Yeah.
He used to earn 4,500 dirhams.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear to you, my prayer during that time was to become as rich and wealthy as this guy that was earning 4,500. Can you imagine how little?
Once again, the environment, right? Because that's what you saw was possible.
Yeah.
Right? So
he was the highest earning person from 8 people.
Yeah.
4,500.
Yeah.
And this guy was living the dream. I mean, at that time, bro, this guy comes back from work around 11:30 at night.
Yeah.
And then, because I always wait for him so I can clean his shoes, and then, he's going to take me and get me some paratha or some little burgers, And it kept me going, But then you can imagine that space and that environment really kept me away from a lot of things.
Yeah.
It took me about 2 months before I ever visited the Dubai Mall.
Yeah.
And then I visited the Dubai Mall and I'm like, this place is beautiful. Why
Wow.
can't I not walk here?
Yeah.
Why can't I not walk here?
Yeah,
They look good. They're in suits. They're selling perfumes.
Yeah.
I feel like they're doing well,
Yeah.
And then the next move for me was I decided to take out 500 dirhams and I got the oldest MacBook you have ever seen,
Yeah.
Again, me trying to keep my class there, I'm like, I'm not going to go for like another, I want a MacBook,
Yeah.
So I got this MacBook and I was applying for jobs brutally.
Yeah.
But now I started applying for jobs that would give me 4,500 because that's what I like. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
But then everyone else started condemning me.
Yeah.
And they're like, are you okay?
Yeah.
4,500? You think we don't want 4,500?
Yeah.
It's like, bro, get a cleaner job, work for 1-2 years, get a visa, and then, you leave. That's the mentality there.
Yeah. People were projecting what they thought onto you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I couldn't just get myself to become a cleaner.
Yeah.
Even when I applied, they still didn't call me.
Yeah.
And then my first job, after trying 2 jobs, I went for Poke and Co. I told me, listen, we're going to try for 2 weeks. And so I tried for 2 weeks and he's like, oh, sorry, we will not give you the job.
Yeah.
I was like, can you give me the pay at least?
Yeah.
He gave me about 600 dirhams or so.
Yeah.
I added, went for another visa change.
Yeah.
Visa was out again.
Yeah.
Came back, joined the company, Shakespeare & Co.
Yeah.
And it's so sad that I noticed that all 32 outlets that we had is all closed. I don't know why. But salary at that time, 1,000 dirhams. The only way I could actually make my mom know that I was fine was to send my mom, every time I get my salary, 1,000 dirhams cash.
Yeah.
I would send her 500 to 600 dirhams.
Yeah.
Because I had accommodation at that time now and I had food
Yeah.
at work. So I would send her 500 dirhams to be like, take care of yourself and, buy, just so she could know that I was fine because
give her that
she
peace
was
of mind.
always asking, are you okay? I had acne all over my face.
Yeah.
I'll send her photos and she's going to be like, are you sure you're fine? I'll be like, no, I'm fine. It's just the weather and stuff like that. But yeah, man. So Shakespeare & Co., long story short, they used my visa as well. I went to them. I'm like, hey, my 3 months visa is almost done. They're like, you know what? Just use your salary. Once you come back, we'll pay.
Yeah.
Use my salary, visa change. Came back. They didn't pay. And my visa was still going to run through. And when I was left with like, I think a month and a half, I went to work one morning and my supervisor is just screaming at my head, oh, you have not done that. You haven't done that. And I lost it.
Yeah.
And that was it for me. I was like, I quit. I don't have a job. I don't have a place to stay. Mind you, I only know this guy, my friend, the other guy. So I was like, I quit. He was like, where are you going to? Blah, blah, blah. I'll call the manager. Trust you, this manager, when you hear his name, you run away. Yeah. And I was like, give me the phone, I'll talk to him. Yeah. And I told him I quit. He's like, oh, but we started your visa. I was like, no, cancel it. Yeah. He's like, you sure? It's like, yeah. Because it wasn't true, of course. And so he's like, okay, that's fine. I walked out of there. And the HR gives me a month to leave the accommodation. And so I had a month to figure things out. And So I started applying brutally and finally applied for, for Warner Brothers World, yeah, on Yas Island. And that was how my journey to Abu Dhabi was just about to begin in a couple of weeks.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Dude, that sounds like a movie, bro. You've lived a movie from sharing this accommodation with 8 people.
Yeah.
And it reminded me once again of the whole prodigal son experience.
Yeah.
At that time when you came in and you saw there's 8 people here, I've had my own space back home. You know, why didn't you go back? Because you had every reason to go back. So I just want to focus on mindsets. I want to focus on maybe some of the things that you said to yourself. So what was it that kept you going, okay, home could be so much better, but I want to stay here? Why?
To be completely honest, my ego was one of those things.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like sometimes you can have a positive ego and a negative ego, right? There was that voice in my head that was like, hey, listen, we've come this far.
Yeah.
There's no going back. You know what? Our mom cried already. My mama cried already, right? We got to clean those tears.
Yeah.
You know, there was a voice of like, on the other side, like, what are people going to say?
Yeah.
Some people watch me leave this country, you know? And back home, the mentality is once you get into a plane, you've made it.
Yeah.
That's the mentality, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, so I'm like, what are those people going to say?
Yeah.
You know? What are my mates going to say? You know? So I was like, it all came down to the point of like, hey, we have to go big
Yeah.
when we go home.
Yeah.
We got to go big
Big.
here.
Yeah.
You know? So I was like, we have to stay focused on everything. I had to go through the trials. And one other thing in the mentality I had was like, you know what? These guys are doing it. I used to ask, how long have you been here? 6 years, 7 years, that amount of years. I'm like, you know what? They're alive. They're doing something.
Yeah.
They're sending money back home. I want to make a difference
Yeah.
for my people back home. And I was like, regardless of what happens, I stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's
Stay.
nice, man. Yeah, that's truly inspiring.
Yeah.
I think ego can be something that, used correctly, can really push you to the extremes. And I think as human beings, we're capable to weather so much more than we realize. And I think when you also have a reason why, you have a purpose, you know what you came here for. And when you look back, family are expecting something. You have a responsibility. And yeah, man, it's beautiful to hear that kept you going. And then, you know, you had your experience here.
Yeah.
So I guess now you're in Abu Dhabi, you know, you're working this job, you've experienced a new career, and you've managed to build your life to new heights. You know, you're very successful now. You know, you started in humble beginnings and you're leading large teams and you're delivering high scale projects. So what has been one of the most important lessons you've learned in this phase of your career now that you're on the other side of success and life is falling into the right place?
I want people to understand that in whatever position you are in, whatever title that you carry, it's a title.
Yeah.
You got to make a difference. That's what actually matters, you know? I can tell you one thing. Patience, resilience can truly transform your life.
Yeah.
But then giving more and serving others can even go beyond that. I learned that I had to get a lot of delayed gratifications.
Yeah.
I had to always keep my happiness on the side first, because I realized that I became a leader that would always be happy when I make others happy.
Others happy, yeah.
And then you realize you're not really depriving yourself of any joy. Because the thing is, you create something that makes people happy, and in return, you become the happiest person. Because you just have smiley faces everywhere. And people love your work, and people look up to you, you know? So I think one of the greatest lessons that I have learned is the act of serving. When you're a leader, regardless of your position, CEO, whatever, you're in there to serve others. And we need to understand this. In life, if we have more and more people serving others, life is just going to become a better place for everyone.
Extremely.
You get what I mean? So, and serving doesn't bring you down to a level of the minority. No, it actually, you know, it brings you more respect.
Exactly.
You know, it brings you more respect. People turn to love you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just a beautiful feeling when you know you're doing the right thing,
Yeah.
and people actually look up to you and wish to be like you
Yeah.
someday. So I would say, serving others
Yeah.
and giving more in whatever role,
Yeah.
whatever situation that you find yourself in.
Yeah. Nah,
Yeah.
beautifully said, man. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think that's one of the things that brought us close. And
Yeah.
I think with our friendship, just how we approach servant leadership,
Yeah.
and how we approach our purpose. You know, in my life, in my experiences, I've started Tanga Foundation to give back. You know, to support kids, to put them in a better platform. I do the mentorship, you know, and even this podcast. The whole idea of this is to serve our community.
Yeah.
You know, give them advice, give them tips, share stories like yours, which will then inspire them to become the best version of themselves. Yeah. So in everything that we both are doing in our own individual lives, serving others is at the root of that. And for me, I think the best example is Jesus Christ. You know, he lived a life of servitude.
Yeah.
And he's the perfect example of a servant leader, and there's no better way to live your life than to live in service. So that's so beautifully said, man. And if there is one thing that you want to be remembered for, what would it be? Let's say it's 100 years later down the line, you know, the story of Zidane. What's the one thing you want to be remembered for?
So that's a very good question. Many years from now, you know, the dream is to inspire so many people through servant leadership, to make people actually realize that things are possible, and for people to actually see the impact that, you know, comes out of serving others, you know, of giving first and then taking later.
Yes.
You're more happier when you give than actually just receiving. And whenever you give, you just potentially will receive. You understand? So I want people to know me as the leader that took care of them first before taking care of himself. It is just a selfless sacrifice that is so humbling, and it is so satisfying for me. You know?
Wonderfully said, man. And I think for everyone who is listening right now to the podcast, I encourage you to look at an area in your life. Maybe it's a skill, an expertise, and just see, how can I serve someone with this? If you've learned something, you know, you went to university, you got your degree, you've built your career, how can you serve other people with that? What can you use that degree to help the next person? If you have resources, can you share them? Knowledge, can you share it? Time, can you share it? Advice, you know, we all have the ability to serve. We all have the ability to inspire others, and it's a big message to carry on, and it's a big message to really resonate and use as a flag for our purpose and how we move in this world. So thank you so much for sharing that message, and I believe that wraps up our episode today. Bro, it's been amazing having you on. It's been amazing hearing your story, your journey. I know we could have gone into so much more detail. And maybe we'll do like a part 2 or behind the scenes. So definitely let us know in the comments if you want to see more of that insights. But now, thank you for sharing your story and speaking to our audience today. It's really been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, brother. It's been such an honor. It is the first time that I'm actually, I mean, aside from like, you know, you're my friend, you know the deeper stuff, even, you know. But it is the first time that I'm actually, you know, sharing with the others there, and it's been something that I've been hoping to share this message, and the hope has always been to inspire others, especially the African community as well, you know, in the UAE, because there's always this limited mentality of like, you know what, you gotta be from a certain race and stuff like that. But I want people to understand it's not all about that. It's not all about that. It is so possible. Serve others, and you'll see doors open for you. You know, I would not be where I am today if I didn't take, you know, this act of serving to a whole other level. You know, so let's serve others, and let's love more, and then, you know, in return, you get a lot of peace and happiness.
Amen. Amazing. Okay, so that wraps up our episode of the Invincible Minds podcast with Zidane. Thank you so much for listening. If you found today valuable, Please share, please comment, and ensure that this message gets to the right listeners. Thank you for watching. Stay invincible, and we'll see you on the next one.